This video provides an introduction to the custom steps capability in SAS Studio and also provides simple examples on how to use them. Custom steps are powerful tools as they can be used to create a simple point-and-click user interface for any SAS or Python code. This way, organizations can make it really easy for anyone to benefit from even complex code, as it can be hidden behind a simple UI. To illustrate how easy it is to create them, I will show you 3 examples. Before jumping into the examples, let's go through some essential information that helps you get started with custom steps. Custom steps can be used inside SAS Studio. They can be used as part of Flow or independently in a tab. There is already a lot of ready-made steps available for data processing, visualization, and AI developed by SAS. However, there may be something specific that is missing that you and people in your organization might need frequently. In that situation, it is really useful to package the SAS or Python code you need into a custom step so that it can be easily used by everyone in your organization. In addition to the officially supported steps, there is also a bunch of custom steps available in GitHub. Using the custom steps available in the GitHub repository is really simple. If you need just one of the steps, go into the folder that contains a step you would like to use. Select the .step file and select download. After that, you can upload the file in SAS Studio to your personal library or SAS content. After that, the step will be visible in the Share tab of the Steps side panel. Links to more resources are of course found in the video description. But now it's time to look at the examples. The first example is probably the simplest custom step possible, including only an input and output table. It lets you copy data from one library to another. The second example is a little bit more advanced, meant for batch scoring of deployed machine learning models. But I try to keep it relatively simple to help you grasp the basic mechanics for building more complex steps on your own. The third and final example will show you how you can use Python code inside your custom steps. The example will create a sample from provided input data. Let's dive in to the first example and start with the simplest possible custom step. So here I have the copy data step that I have previously created, and we can first check it out in the tab view and see how I have the input table and the output table where I want to copy from and to, basically. And I can make the table selections from over here. If I want to open the step in a flow, I can do so from here as well. So let's add the custom step to a flow. And now I just need to add the input and output tables to this custom step. So I'll insert an input table, connect them, select the data I want to copy. Let's just select this one. And then I'll put an output table and select where I would like to copy this table to. All right, so using it relatively simple. Let's check out how we can create a step like this. To create a new step, we can just select Custom Step, Quick Start. And here you can see a selection of common controls you can use to create these steps. And for this simple step, we need only an input table and an output table. Then we need the actual program running in the background. So to copy table from one library location to another, we can use a simple data step. And let me copy the code from the step I have already created. So I can just open this created step in edit mode and take the program from here. And the only difference with the code is that you replace the variable names with the different control IDs that you create in the designer. So for example, here, this table out should now reflect the ID of the output table of this output table control. So it needs to match to the ID over here. And the same thing goes for the input table, and it should match, of course, the input table ID over here. But that's basically it. That's everything you need for the simplest possible custom step. Of course, if you want to organize your work a little bit more, you can also add pages to your custom step, and for example add a README page to your custom step to explain its functionality to other users. Alright, but now it's time to look at the second example, which is a little bit more advanced. So as I said previously, the second example is about batch scoring of deployed machine learning models. The specific code might not be relevant for your use case, but I think it can showcase a couple of useful mechanics that are good to know when building more advanced steps. So let's take a look at the runModelLocal step. And before diving into the designer details, I can just briefly show you how it appears in a flow. So when I add the step to the flow, as a default I get one input table, and then I can specify an additional table that will be used as an input, basically providing the data I want to score. The default table contains the machine learning model that has been published and I want to use to run against the input table, and then the output table is the location where I want to push my scoring results. But that is basically how the step is functioning. So to create something like this is not that different to the simplest possible step. What you just need to do is basically add another input table, and that we already know how to do. In addition to that, I need to specify the model name in the second input table, and for that I'm just using this control called text area, and adding this is really easy. Again, we can just drag and drop this to the designer canvas and just make sure we use the correct macro variables in our code. Typically, we also need some types of options, for example, for different algorithms. So it's easy to also use different like numeric inputs, for example, this numeric stepper control that can then take in, for example, different integers, and you can select the step sizes, maximum values, and so forth. And then I have, like in the previous example, I have an output table and also an about page. So what about the code then? Let's take a look. And this is one of the reasons I also chose this example, because in many situations it might be that you need double quotes around the user input. So for example, this specific proc and this action runModelLocal needs the input table in a format that is around double quotes. And when the user selects the input in this control, it doesn't add the quotes by default. But luckily there is a relatively easy way to do it with this function. So it just basically takes the ID, the macro variable of the input table control, takes the string that is inputted, and then adds double quotes around that string. And that's a really easy way, just get the double quotes into the code. And in addition, you can see here the integer that we are using the numeric stepper for, that we just need to take care of that this macro variable ID matches to the ID that we define in this control. But other than that, building these even more advanced steps is relatively similar to building the simplest one. Now it's time to move to our third and final example. And that example was about using Python code inside a custom step. So let's open the step I have previously created and add it to a flow. And let's just briefly check out what it does. So by default, I have defined an input table for this step. And then I just need to add a output table. In the output table, I'll define where I want the sample to be written, and I'll write it to my own CAS user library under sample 2. Then I can select a couple of options in the custom step, so I can select the number of rows I want to be included into the sample, and then which variables from the input data I want to be included. And after that, I can just run the node and get the results. And of course, this is not the most complex step we can do with Python code, so you can extend these same mechanics to any Python code you would like. So here we see the output data that I wanted and specified in the step. So how is this created? So let's take a look at the designer for the Python step. So let me open it over here. All the controls basically look similar. I have the input table, I have the output table here, I have a couple of different options. I have again a numeric stepper for the number of rows, and then I have this really useful column selector that I can use to select columns from the input table. So it automatically links to the input table in the flow and sees what types of variables I have available to select. Then the code. So let's take a look. So only thing you need basically to add around your basic Python code is a couple of things. So this proc Python and submit statement in the beginning, and then end submit and quit in the end. So that wraps around the Python code you would like to use. And then inside the Python code, there are a couple of things you need to take care of so that it functions as part of a flow. So all the input variables you get from the controls you define in the designer need to be defined in this way so that they can be defined as variables in the Python code. And for integers, just take a look at this row. But other than that, we can just import the packages that are needed for the code. And then the final addition is defining the input and output tables. So if we are using SAS data as input in the flow, I need to do this SAS data to data frame step in the code and define the data frame that is used as the input for the code. Then in the end, I just need to do the reverse. So basically converting the data frame to a SAS data that is then pushed to the output library. But that's it. That's basically all you need to know for creating any types of custom steps using Python code. And that's it. That's all the 3 examples I had prepared for this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial to custom steps. See you in the next video.